Rich Briner, doing good with what we've got. Doing good with what we've got. Rich Briner. That's about it. That's Andy, whose permission I have to tell this story, and that's how Andy completed a speech of 7 minutes and 20 seconds. A speech that any one of us here could have completed in 6 minutes. From the back of the room, the question came, Andy, have you stuttered all your life? Not yet. All around laughter. Laughter turned to applause. Applause. Go ahead, you can do that now. Applause for a man who is doing good with what he's got and laughing off what he's not. This philosophy, friends, is exemplified in the BC cartoon by Johnny Hart, where Wiley, the one-legged man, says, I'm thankful for these things. I'm thankful that I have one leg. For to limp is no disgrace. Although I can't be number one, I still can run the race. For it's not what we cannot do that makes us who we are. It's doing good with what we've got that makes each of us a star. What is it for you? Are you too tall? Too short? Too thick where you should be thin? Too thin where you should be strong? What is it about yourself you can't change? Can you poke fun at it? If you can, you, like Andy, will be doing good with what you've got and laughing off what you're not. Ethel Barrymore says, we grow up the day we have our first real laugh at ourselves. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm cross-eyed. I've been cross-eyed all my life. When I was growing up, they called me goggles, 4 eyes, I wore glasses. But when I was 2 years old, I had an operation to correct it. The next morning, I was sitting at the breakfast table about to eat my cereal. My brother Danny was over here about to eat his cereal. Obviously, the operation did not take, but it never got me into trouble until I got fired from my first teaching job. Couldn't keep my pupils under control. It's a challenge, but I'm doing good with what I've got and laughing off what I'm not. How about you? You know, I've run the Boston Marathon 9 times. I'm never going to win that race. Never. That's something about myself I can't change. Can I do good with what I've got in that race? Well, I had a plan. In 1979, boom, the gun went off and I started running. 2 hours later, I was at the 20-mile mark and I turned to the side of the road and I yelled, how far ahead's the first woman? And that was my plan. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could not finish that race in first place, I knew I was good enough to finish next to the first woman runner. Why would I do that? Because that night on Dan Rather's news program, the first male would be crossing the finish line, they'd show him on TV, and the first female would be, and she would be shown on TV, and there, right next to her I would be, crossing that finish line together. People across the country on their TVs, and on their big screens in the sports bars, they'd see the two of us crossing the finish line together. They'd look up and they'd say, who is that woman next to Rich Briner? I picked up my pace. I got to 23 miles. I could hear up ahead the roar of the crowd. The roar, it's the pounding of the breakers against the shore, but it wasn't that at all. It was the roar of the crowd. When that first woman runner goes by, the crowd yells and goes crazy. Somewhere up ahead, I was closing in. I got to 24 miles and I could see 50 yards ahead, bobbing pigtails, red and white running shorts. Then 20 yards behind her, then 10 yards behind, and then finally I'm running stride for stride with Patty Lyons Catalona, the home-time favorite. People are yelling, go Patty, go! We are being swept down Commonwealth Avenue from the waves of adulation from the crowd. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, what about me? I've been running 2 hours just like her. What about me? At that moment, I pretended like those cheers were for me. Why? Because when you get past 20 miles, you take anything you can get. We crossed the finish line together. Woo-wee! I did it. Will Cloney, the director of the Boston Marathon, came walking out with his hand extended. I went to shake it. He walked right by me, over to Patty. He shook Patty's hand. He hugged Patty, and he said, Patty, Congratulations. You just finished second amongst the women in the Boston Marathon. Second. I followed the wrong woman. I hate it when I do that. But was I unsuccessful? I return to the wisdom of Wiley. Although I can't be number one, although I can't get my picture on the news, I still can run the race. Although I've still got crossed eyes, I don't mind him, because I'm behind him. Although Andy, stuttering Andy, can't speak at our pace, he can still make his case. For it's not what we cannot do that makes us who we are. It's doing good with what we've got that makes each of us a star. Mr. Toastmaster. Wow. 5:55. Okay. Good. I did it.